Hey, are you looking for an all-purpose running shoe? Maybe you're about to start or restart running and you're looking to pick up a shoe to stay motivated to get out there. Well, I've got you covered today where I'll be going over the ASICS Novablast and I'm going to teach you how to pick an all-purpose running shoe. Hey, what's poppin'? Jordan Thomas here. I hope you and yours are staying safe. I thought today would be a great opportunity to go over the ASICS Novablast. I reached out to the run homies over at Roadrunner Sports to send me over a pair, especially once I saw this colorway available. It kind of reminded me like an Oreo cookie or a tuxedo. So if you're excited to learn how to pick your running shoe, go ahead and hit that thumbs up button and let's get started. One of the things that you'll notice as soon as you pick these up out of the box is the weight is very standard. In typical general training shoes, you're gonna be anywhere from like 8 to like 10, maybe even like 12 ounces. And this one is kind of like right in the middle. The other thing that happens when you pick this particular shoe up is your eyes immediately go to the midsole. So let's begin our discussion talking there. One of the things that I noticed right off the bat when it comes to the midsole is it kind of reminds me of like those Icelandic glacier water bottles. But with that aside, this foam is actually very fantastic. It's built to be very cushioned, but also offer kind of like a spring or a bounce. I like to say that the magic is in the midsole. And what this is going to allow for is the amount of cushioning that you need so that your feet don't hurt as much. You're able to propel yourself forward. Now, flight foam is certainly one of the more innovative foams that are available through ASICS, which typically uses ASICS gel. So if you're familiar with Nike at all, think about Epic React versus Air. We'll think about flight foam versus ASICS gel. So I thought this was definitely a risk to go outside of their norm, and I'm glad that they did it. It's a good thing to see ASICS taking some shots on the innovation front. Let's talk about the outsole. The outsole is going to be another important piece of the overall equation because you want to make sure you keep your traction. This actually uses ASICS high abrasion rubber, which is very lightweight, but also decently sticky. To look at it, it doesn't look like much, but when you're actually out on the road, which this shoe typically is designed for, you get a good level of traction. I've also tested it out on the grass, as well as the dirt, and it worked out pretty well for me. Now, I will say watch out for like wet spots if you're gonna pick up a shoe like this, because that could be a bit of an issue. I did find myself hitting a little slippery spot or two when the ground was wet. It doesn't rain here much in LA, but certainly the ground can be wet from people's sprinklers or whatever. So keep that in mind. Moving on to the upper, I like the fact that this is engineered woven. The overlays to me kind of remind me of like Shuri's Lab from Black Panther, as well as his overall uniform in terms of the overall logo. You've got these ventilated holes. That's something that may be important to you if you get hot feet or you just need something that's going to be a little bit more breathable. I'd say keep in mind when you're going to be running in different weather, how that might play out for you. And then you've got this tongue, not too flat, not too thick, just enough to kind of let you know that you have something up against you. I don't love these laces, but they get the job done. Now, next thing that's super important is making sure that the fit is right for you. And so I like to think about fit really in kind of like 3 or 4 different dimensions. First and foremost is front to back. Now, I went with 11.5. I think that if you're picking a running shoe, you're probably going to want to be like one size up from your typical like walking type of shoe. These, however, I would say go half a size down. So if you're already picking a running shoe of like 11.5, go a half a size down. I found that front to back shoe was definitely a little bit big for me. The toe box I thought was pretty decent. I have a narrow foot, so that's just something to keep in mind. And then when it came to the forefoot, I felt like it was actually kind of wide. And so if you have a wider foot, these are going to be probably a good choice for you. If you have a narrow foot, you're gonna have to make use of the laces to get it locked down a bit more. And so when it came to the heel cup, collar, and the tongue coming together, I felt very secure in the shoe. With that covered, now it's all about what do you intend on using it for. So for general purpose runs, you're just looking for a shoe that you can do kind of a little bit of everything in. So I did a little bit of everything when it came to training in this shoe. I tested it out, easy, speed, long. First run I took it out for, I was nervous, I gotta be honest. I had such a bad experience early in the year with the ASICS Evo Ride. For my foot, I wanna make sure that I caveat that for my foot. I even referred to it as a dumpster fire because of the experience that I had with the shoe. Fortunately with this, none of those issues. It just felt like a shoe needed to be broken in a little bit. I ran for about 4 miles, a little bit over 4 miles. Felt really good. The toe spring that allows you to propel yourself forward felt good. It was a little bit firmer than I was expecting, but it was still well cushioned. I did have a little bit of a bounce, but it felt good. So that had me excited to now try it out for a faster run in which I would do some 5K pace, some 10K pace, even some close to mile pace. And I was very impressed with this shoe. I wore it from warm up through cool down, through the workout, was able to transition nicely between all of those paces. Then came to the long run. These days, weather's changing, restrictions are happening here in California, so I only pushed it to 8+ miles in this shoe. I did notice though after 60 minutes in this shoe, I wanted my ankle to relax, which tends to happen as my form starts to break down. The shoe wouldn't let me, and I didn't necessarily like that. I think that if you're newer to running and you're looking to get a shoe that's gonna help you run the most correct way possible, then that's something that can be beneficial. For those of you who may be restarting running, have already a kind of understanding of what you want in a shoe, I'd say keep an eye out for that. The other thing I like to test when it comes to performance, particularly for general training type shoes, is what happens on back-to-back-to-backs. And so I went easy, hard, easy in the shoe. Easy to hard was totally fine. Going from hard to easy, it didn't feel as good. I think that it was just because the cushion had compressed to a decent amount. And so I did give it another day to let it kind of rebound a bit, and took it back out, and it was fine. So that's just something to keep in mind, if particularly if you're gonna use these for like a run streak or something like that. You may want another pair of shoes, which I would recommend anyway, to rotate in. But if you're working out like every other day when it comes to running, you shouldn't have to worry about that at all. When it comes to durability, this is definitely a 300+ miler type shoe, like without question. I feel like the shoe is really starting to break in once I got it around like 25 miles. And that's something to keep in mind too if you're looking for a shoe that has kind of like an already broken in feel versus not. When it comes to some things that I believe that could be improved with the shoe, however, it really boils down to two things. One, the upper/fit needs to be refined a little bit. The fact that in the dimensions of like the forefoot and the front to back, that it was so off for me means that there's an opportunity for this shoe to be adjusted just a little bit more. And then the second thing, there's no reason in 2020 for us to have a 180 on a heel of a shoe. Like, I would love to see this rounded out. I've even had a half a mind to file this down myself. And as a matter of fact, I think that just by bringing in this overall midsole in line with the overall upper might actually decrease the weight a little bit and provide an even doper silhouette. So if you're someone that's just looking to get some miles or get some time on your feet, I believe this is going to be a great offering. I think that if you're someone that's looking to actually train for like a 5K to a marathon, you would have some good success in this shoe. And ultimately, I'm excited to now have a ASICS shoe that is more on the innovative side of things that I can refer people to. In times past, I've pointed people to the ASICS Gel Cumulus because that's a shoe that I've had a good experience in, but I don't feel like they've innovated it since I stopped wearing it 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm glad to have a shoe that I can push forward in that particular way. If you want to chop it up about some more running shoes, I've got a whole playlist that I created for you here. Remember, movement is a blessing, and I'll see you next time. Jordan Thomas, peace.